Hi, here in this video, let's discuss the novel The Mysterious Affair at Styles, a detective novel by Agatha Christie. This is a classic murder mystery which introduces Hercule Poirot and Mr. Hastings as lead characters. The story is told in first person by Hastings and features many of the elements that have become icons of the golden age of detective fiction, largely due to Christie's influence. Let's look at the detailed summary of the
The Mysterious Affair at Styles. The Mysterious Affair at Styles is a detective novel by British writer Agatha Christie. It was written in the middle of the First World War, in 1916, and first published by John Lane in the United States in October 1920, and in the United Kingdom by the Bodley Head, John Lane's UK company, on the 21st of January 1921. Styles was Christie's first published novel. It introduced Hercule Poirot, Inspector, later, Chief Inspector, Japp, and Arthur Hastings. Poirot, a Belgian refugee of the Great War, is settling in England near the home of Emily Inglethorp, who helped him to his new life. His friend Hastings arrives as a guest at her home. When Mrs. Inglethorp is murdered, Poirot uses his detective skills to solve the mystery. The book includes maps of the house, the murder scene, and a drawing of a fragment of a will. The true first publication of the novel was as a weekly serial in the Times, including the maps of the house and other illustrations included in the book. This novel was one of the first 10 books published by Penguin Books when it began in 1935. Characters in the novel: Hercule Poirot, renowned Belgian private detective. He lives in England after being displaced by the war in Europe. Asked to investigate the case by his old friend Hastings. Hastings, Poirot's friend, and the narrator of the story. He is a guest at Styles Court while on sick leave from the Western Front. Inspector Japp, a Scotland Yard detective, and the investigating officer. He is an acquaintance or Poirot at the time of the novel's setting. Emily Inglethorp, a wealthy old woman, and the wife of Alfred Inglethorp. She inherited her fortune and her home of Styles Court following the death of her first husband, Mr. Cavendish. She is the victim of the case. Alfred Inglethorp, Emily's second husband and 20 years younger than she is. Considered by her family to be a spoiled fortune hunter. John Cavendish, Emily's elder stepson, from her first husband's previous marriage, and the brother of Lawrence. John formerly practiced as a barrister and has known Hastings for many years. It is he who invites Hastings to Styles near the beginning of the story. He is going through some issues with his marriage to his wife Mary Cavendish, John's wife, and a friend of Dr. Bauerstein. Lawrence Cavendish, Emily's younger stepson, from her first husband's previous marriage, and the brother of John, known to have studied medicine and qualified as a doctor. Evelyn Howard, Emily's companion, and a second cousin of Alfred Inglethorp, of whom she nevertheless expresses a strong dislike. Cynthia Murdoch, the daughter of a deceased friend of the family, an orphan. She performs wartime work at a nearby hospital's dispensary. Dr. Bauerstein, a well-known toxicologist, living not far from Styles. Dorcas, a maid at Styles, loyal to Mrs. Inglethorp. Plot summary. On the morning of the 18th of July, the household at Styles Court wakes to the discovery that Emily Inglethorp, the elderly owner, has died. She had been poisoned with strychnine. Arthur Hastings, a soldier from the Western Front staying at this country manor as a guest on his sick leave, ventures out to the nearby village of Styles St. Mary to enlist help from his friend Hercule Poirot. Emily was a wealthy woman. Her household includes her husband, Alfred Inglethorp, a younger man she recently married. Her stepsons, from her first husband's previous marriage, John and Lawrence Cavendish, John's wife Mary Cavendish. Cynthia Murdoch, the daughter of a deceased friend of the family. And Evelyn Howard, Emily's companion. Poirot learns that per Emily's will, John inherits the manor property from her. Per his father's will, however, the money she inherited would be distributed according to her own will, which she changed at least once per year. Her most recent will favors Alfred, who will inherit her fortune. On the day of the murder, Emily had been arguing with someone, suspected to be either Alfred or John. She had been quite distressed after this and apparently made a new will. No one can find any evidence of this new will. Alfred left the manor early that evening and stayed overnight in the village. Meanwhile, Emily ate little at dinner and retired early to the room, taking her document case with her. When her body was found, the case had been forced open. Nobody can explain how or when the poison was administered to her. Inspector Japp, the investigating officer, considers Alfred to be the prime suspect. As he gains the most from his wife's death, Poirot notes that Alfred's behavior is suspicious during the investigation. Alfred refuses to provide an alibi and openly denies purchasing the strychnine in the village, despite evidence to the contrary. Although Japp is keen to arrest him, Poirot intervenes by proving he could not have purchased the poison. The signature for the purchase is not in his handwriting. Suspicion now falls on John. Next to gain from Emily's will and without an alibi for the murder, Japp soon arrests him. The signature for the poison is in his handwriting. A file that contained the poison is found in his room. A beard and a pair of pince-nez identical to Alfred's are found within the manor. Poirot soon exonerates John of the crime. He reveals that the murder was committed by Alfred Inglethorp, with aid from his cousin Evelyn Howard. The pair pretended to be enemies but were romantically involved. They added bromide to Emily's regular evening medicine, obtained from her sleeping powder, making the final dose lethal. The pair then left false evidence that would incriminate Alfred, which they knew would be refuted at his trial. Once acquitted, he could not be tried for the crime again if genuine evidence against him was found, per the law of double jeopardy. The pair framed John as part of their plan. Evelyn forged his handwriting, and the evidence against him was fabricated. Poirot explains that he prevented Japp from arresting Alfred because Poirot saw that Alfred wanted to be arrested. Thanks to a chance remark by Hastings, Poirot finds a letter in Emily's room that detailed Alfred's intentions for Emily. Emily's distress on the afternoon of the murder was because Emily had found this letter in Alfred's desk while searching for stamps. Emily's document case was forced open by Alfred when Alfred realized she had the letter. Alfred then hid the letter elsewhere in the room to avoid being found with it. End of the story. Thank you. Thank you.